Wow. Any confetti? All good? All right. Namaste. Growing up in India, I was the youngest of two girls, and also the pampered one. Never in the wildest of my imaginations would I have imagined moving away from these three pillars upon whom I had relied all my life. As destiny would have it, my wedding to my best friend in 2005 did just that. And I moved here to the United States, thousands of miles away from home. A move that I thought was temporary at the time. After almost 17 years later, as you can see, I'm still here. Springfield, Missouri became my hometown in the US. Getting a work permit over there was a challenge in the small town, so I pursued higher education. Life almost immediately started sending conflicting signals along my way that manifested stories in my mind regarding how I was being received in a new country. Where on one hand, most of our friends were Americans. On the other hand, one of the most common questions I was asked was, "How is your English so powerful?" People were visibly surprised when I shared that India had the second largest population of English speakers, second to the United States, and that English was one of the two official languages spoken in India. One evening, as my husband and I were strolling around college campus, a bunch of kids drove by us yelling profanities. Among other hateful things, they told us to get the bleep out of their country. I was scared and angry. My husband, who at the time was more experienced in dealing with such a situation, told me, "Keep your head down and keep walking." But you don't get to treat someone this way, right? Even though I didn't say anything out loud, that day was the first time I shushed my feelings. And then started a long and taxing road to cultural shocks. The struggles that seemed small and natural to ethnic integration pretty soon led to an emotional turmoil as the looks and profanities became more frequent in and out of the campus. Another such incident was during the same year in Chicago when our car was towed. So here's how it went. I called 911 and said, "Good morning, madam. My car was parked right here and I do not see it anywhere. I need some help." "I can't really understand you." "Madam, my car was parked right here and I do not know what to do. I need some help." "Honey, I really can't understand what you're trying to say." "My car is towed. Can you please help me?" "Oh, your car is towed." That is when I realized that I will have to adapt a new accent in order to be better understood here. When my family back home noticed my changed accent, it kind of led to mixed feelings. One, it felt like validation, like I was beginning to fit in to this new world around me. On the other hand, I felt a little distant from my roots. Another pile of shushed feelings there. Being in minority at most workplaces, people often ask me questions about my cultural heritage. My response to them is filled with humility and pride. An ex-colleague way back when once asked me, "India is a largely populated country now?" With the usual sparkle in my eye, I had barely begun to say yes when he interrupted me with a smirk. "Oh, is that why you're here?" I still remembered the tone of his voice and his apathetic smile as he left me there with a million interpretations of what just happened here. Another colleague once looked into my laptop and jumped as if he had seen an alien or a ghost. I stared at him as he asked, What the heck is that on your screen? Too stunned and offended to speak for what seemed like forever, I finally found my voice and I replied softly, "That is a picture of Ganesha, one of the most worshipped god in Hindu religion. I love him." As he walked away with an unapologetic sorry, I made a promise to myself never to have a picture of Ganesha ever again on my work laptop because I could not take another word of disrespect for my God. How about a quick crash course here? Ganesha, elephant god. Hanuman, monkey god. Swastika, a symbol of auspiciousness often associated with Hindu religion and not a symbol of infamy adopted by Nazis. When I look back all these years, I realize even though my stories might be different than any other intersectional diverse person living in another country, my feelings might not. I still get sarcastic looks and smiles and comments, or even get talked over when I present an idea that might seem very bold. In work or in social diverse settings, my family still gets treated differently at certain restaurants. Sometimes I cannot even put my finger at a time or an incident when we were treated differently, but you just know. The feeling that you experience in your heart, in your gut, is often so hard to express in words, especially to someone who is not going through what you're going through. We often suffer through these moments alone. And when microaggressions happen over and over again, they aren't micro at all. And I kept wondering why. Why did I not say anything? I was dodging behind these uncomfortable smiles with a deal with it strategy. Maybe because of my work moment? Maybe because I was scared to enrage anyone enough that could land me in difficulty with immigration? When the reality is essentially the feeling of belonging was still missing for me. And then I had an epiphany. I can't really put my finger at a time or an incident when it did, but when it did, I realized, yes, I was born in another country. Yes, there are layers of diversity that I am so proud of. The feeling that the turmoil that we had to go through when leaving our families thousands of miles away was an incredibly stressful one that can get emotionally stressful even now. Now it's home. My beliefs, my upbringing that defined me and my uniqueness stayed with me. Inherently, I just wanted to be accepted the way I was. And after this small little moment of triumph, I showed up without the subtle urge of fitting in and completely accepted my diversity. For instance, when professional headshots were becoming more common on LinkedIn, I chose a one that represented me, my ethnicity. And when I didn't get any critical feedback about it, it felt like a victory. According to a recent UNESCO report, only 41 countries worldwide accept sign language as an official language. The report also says that the key barrier to inclusion in education is the belief that it is needed and it is essential. The door that I had opened up for myself showed me hopeful horizons on the other end, and this was one because inclusion, I realized, was not limited to caste, creed, or nationality alone. The second revelation that I had for myself is inclusion is an effort that needs to be put in by someone who wants to be included. While the primary notion of inclusion is based on humanity, Most people don't even know what they don't know. So even though we need help, they don't know we need help. Diversity is not a checkbox to put a tick on. If you'd rather put a check mark, put it on the person or the action and not the box itself. After I had this realization and started making these intentional changes, I realized that I have so many cheerleaders who believe in me more than sometimes I believe in myself. And they are truly a mix of diverse men and women that have become such good friends over a period of time. They want to hear my stories. When I share these continued struggles as an immigrant, they genuinely care. And they are genuinely shocked. For the longest time, I let my feelings of shushing up pile on ceaselessly. Not anymore. Because while white men and women think that they are strong allies, research shows that the number don't match at the receiving end. And it's time to fix that. By taking that first step, inclusion can be a two-way street. And it's okay, you might take 10 steps. Someone might take 5 steps, or someone might not even take a single step. And that's okay, you know why? Because inclusion is a process, it's not a result. My humble request to everyone present here, or anyone who ever listens to this talk at any time, take the courage for that first step. Talk to someone about how inclusion can be an intentional task for you and for people around you. Doesn't have to be a huge undertaking. Start from wherever you are, and I promise you it's the right place to start. It's gonna be a daunting and even challenging step, and a bumpy road to walk on. But it's well worth the effort. Will you walk with me? Thank you for listening.